Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome again to my Reservoir Lab channel. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. So today's lesson is talk about mercury injection capillary pressure analysis. Before we jump into the overview discussion, I would like to show a book that I use as a reference on this talk, Memoir 60. Studies in Geology. It's quite a book. The title is Worldwide Analogs Caprock Intraformation Barrier Plastic Depositional Settings. This atlas is to present the microstructural, petrophysical, and geomechanical properties of selected caprock and fault seal as an analog prediction of seal capacity or containment potential. And primarily, the atlas is being developed on extensive mercury injection capillary pressure analysis using the XRD, thin section, grain size that we're going to see in the next overview. If I quote one of the acknowledgement from the author, the good things from this publication, they mentioned this atlas can be used as a component of integrated methodologies to evaluate seal potential for prospect risking and also for the reservoir management. I think that's a simple introduction about the book that I use a reference on this lesson. So let's start. Mercury injection capillary pressure analysis is a technique to evaluate the sealing capacity and pore throat aperture size distribution of reservoir lithologies, capsule, intraformation shields, and fault seal. It involves injecting mercury into core sample at different pressure increment to measure the behavior of capillary pressure and generate drainage and imbibition curve. This analysis actually provide valuable information for interpreting the potential sealing capacity, stability of different rock layer in reservoir. And this overview will show a mercury injection capillary pressure in the context of petrophysics. It's provide an introduction to MICP background underlying the petrophysical theory, and also cover fault seal MICP analysis and the conversion of the air mercury data to different systems like oil, water, gas water, and also the carbon dioxide water. Additionally, it's mentioned the methodologies used in the atlas for the analysis. As I mentioned in earlier paid on the title as introduction MICP analysis, primarily a technique to evaluate reservoir lithologies, caprock, intraformation seal, and fault seal by integrating the MICP measurement with seismic microstructural data. This method provide a reliable foundation for interpreting of the reservoir potential, sealing capacity, and also the stability strength of individual layer of the strata. An understanding of capillary pressure behavior is very crucial, accurately assessing the sealing capacity of the rock, intraformation shield, and fault shield. By studying the behavior of capillary pressure, determine the ability of these geological features to prevent the fluid flow and maintain the reservoir integrity. This knowledge is essential, especially for interpreting the potential of reservoir, evaluating the stability, strength of individual rock layer. The micromeritics autopore 3 porosimeter, people call sophisticated laboratory instrument actually used for conducting mercury porosimetry. It's enabled the injection of mercury into core plugs, cut sample, at user defined pressure increment, allowing for the investigation of ceilings capacity and pore throat aperture size distribution and reservoir lithology and seal. This state-of-the-art equipment provide valuable data for understanding capillary pressure behavior, assessing the potential of reservoir and sealing capabilities. In mercury injection, capillary pressure analysis, the amount of mercury injected is recorded as the pressure increase until the maximum pressure or complete saturation of the pore volume is reached. The data is then used to plot the dryness curve, which show the relationship between pressure and mercury saturation. The process can also be reversed to generate an imbibition curve, and it can be conducted under reservoir condition. If pressure data is available, although the low pressure may limit the saturation of the non-wetting phase. If we look at an illustration in the fig 1, where the higher pressure porosimetry used for mercury injection capillary pressure analysis as state-of-the-art equipment capable of injecting mercury into the core sample at user-defined and allowing the determination of pore throat aperture size distribution and sealing capacity of the reservoir lithology and seal. The analytical pressure table are customized to ensure the equilibrium during the injection and withdrawal stage. The petrophysical theory of mercury porosimetry is based on the capillary law, which govern the penetration of liquid into the small pore. Capillary pores of the reservoir and seal is depend on surface tension, interfacial tension, pore throat size and shape, and the wetting properties of the rock. The Westburn equation, specifically formulated for non-wetting liquids like mercury and assuming cylindrical pore, is used to calculate capillary pressure based on the parameters such as surface tension, contact angle, and also the pore throat radius. As we can see in the figures in the bottom, in the given contact illustrate the distribution of the pore throat size in the rock sample along with the injection and withdrawal curve of mercury during dryness and imbibition process. The figures highlight the concept of threshold pressure, PTH, which represent the pressure at which mercury fills the pores and form a continuous filament throughout the rock. This information is crucial for understanding the permeability and characterization of the reservoir. This graphical representation of the MICP curve used to analyze the pore structure of sample by measuring the pressure required for mercury and enter the sample pore. And also the threshold pressure, which indicates the pressure needed for non-wetting fluid displacement, can be determined by identifying the outward convex inflection point of the MICP curve. The equation mentioned help to calculate the critical size of the pore throat, which is the size at which maximum intrusion of the non-wetting phase occurs with a small increase in pressure. This critical pore throat size very crucial to understanding the reservoir characteristic as well as identifying, predicting threshold pressure and permeability. Entry pressure and threshold pressure are terms used to describe the critical point on the mercury injection curve, which indicate the pressure at which mercury form a continuous filament through the rock. So the entry pressure and threshold pressure term used to describe an important point on the mercury injection curve as we can see in the figures, I think figures in the previous, the entry pressure represents the pressure at which mercury start to penetrate the rock, while the threshold pressure is the pressure at which the mercury form a continuous filament through the rock. And this parameter crucial for characterization and can help identify, predict the permeability and threshold behavior of the rock. Determining the parameter called the largest pore aperture size in MICP analysis is quite challenging, just because of the factor like sample size and surface irregularities, and sometimes these irregularities affect both low pressure portion and the low mercury saturation portion, the analysis curve, leading to the errors of the injection process. It is important to consider this factor when characterizing reservoir or seal to avoid significant errors in calculating entry and threshold pressure. So when evaluating the potential of seal, a crucial factor is determining the pressure needed for continuous flow of non-wetting fluid through the sample pore space. So in the case of mercury, which is a non-wetting fluid, pressure must be applied displaced with the wetting phase. At the specific pressure, the percentage of mercury intrusion rapidly increase depending on size of the pore throat. This point known as the threshold pressure, and it can be identified as an upward convex inflection point, the mercury injection curve, that has been successfully utilized by, I think, Dewhurst et al. 2002, where they used to determine the threshold pressure in seal rock. Experimental evidence support this threshold pressure by monitoring electrical resistance across the sample and noting the pressure at which continuity occurs. So in the context of analyzing the capillary pressure in reservoir rocks, Pittman in 1992 and Winland have proposed using different percentage of mercury saturation to predict the threshold pressure. Commonly, 3, 5, 10% of the total mercury saturation used for this purpose, with the 10% being theoretically defined as a displacement pressure. Again, Pittman 2092 also suggests estimating the threshold pressure by identifying the effect of peak obtained from plotting capillary pressure divided by percentage of mercury intruded. Again, the percentage of mercury intrusion based on the analysis under form the sandstone. In different situation, MICP, there is no clear indicator of the threshold pressure. A method that can be used to validate chosen threshold pressure apex. This particularly relevant when a sample exhibits a wide distribution of the pore throat size, resulting in multiple minor apex in the MICP curve. So these additional apex are attributed to variation in grain size, autogenic cement, or pore sorting, which can lead to distinct aperture size within the sample. If we look at table 1, it's provide typically workflow spreadsheet used to determine the seal capacity and column height for specific case involving, I think, supercritical CO2. The table include various parameters such as sample depth, pressure temperature, salinity, CO2 density, brine density, IFT, contact angle, shield threshold pressure in air, hydragium, and brine CO2 system, and also reservoir threshold pressure, brine CO2 system. This spreadsheet helps in analyzing and predicting the behavior of seal in the presence of supercritical CO2 by considering the relevant factors. Another thing that we can learn from this table is provide also information on the methodologies used in the analysis of seal capacity and characteristic for different areas. The primary techniques employed include MICP, SAM with energy dispersive, XRD, X-ray analyzer, EDS, EDX or EDEC, and also cell volume determination. Additional techniques such as a thin section, thin petrography, grain and pore size distribution analysis, and also lithophasias identifications also utilized to lesser an extent. So now we are talking about the fault seal MICP analysis as a method to determine the height of the hydrocarbon column. That fault can support relative to the surrounding underformed strata. It involves analyzing separate relative to the surrounding underformed strata. Again, if the fault zone is too narrow to cut, additional sample is taken by cutting horizontally across the center of the plug with region, hanging wall, and foot wall all on either side. The sample also sealed on all sides except the foot wall base to constrain pore size, minimize closure effect during MICP. The analysis of sealed sample reveals to threshold pressure indicator with the second threshold indicating the pressure at which the fault seal zone is breached. This pressure value is used to calculate the sealing capacity and height of the hydrocarbon column that fault can support. To apply this MICP data to subsurface condition, so the conversion of MICP values to hydrocarbon water, gas water, or CO2 water capillary pressure is necessary. And these conversion factors express equation, I think this equation written number 3. PC each way multiply the hydrocarbon water type of fluid, and also the gamma matrix, and also cos theta contact angle divided with density of the fluid different, multiply with cos theta contact angle and matrix involved in parameters such as we name it. If we look at in the bottom figures number 3, this is we call scanning electron microscopy with energy dispersive X-ray analysis is technique used to examine the microstructure and elemental composition of the sample. I think in this sample, a Philips XL30 FEG SAM instrument, integrated energy dispersive X-ray analyzer that used allow for imaging and analyzing the sample at magnification up to 15,000, providing the clarity at the scale less than 200 nanometers. And the energy dispersive X-ray spectroscopy, EDS, a component for this technique that enables identification of element based on their unique atomic structure, allowing the elemental analysis of the sample. And the interfacial tension of the mercury plus air and theta MA, the contact angle of the mercury and air against the solid. So the IFT and air is, I think, the value around 480 dynes per centimeters in the laboratory condition. Sometimes the contact angle is between mercury and solid is around 140 degrees. In the subsurface value, for the hydrocarbon or CO2 water capillary pressure can be calculated by entering the subsurface hydrocarbon or CO2 water IFT into the above conversion factor equation. So in the laboratory, derived air mercury threshold pressure values can multiply by the conversion factor to produce subsurface hydrocarbon CO2 water capillary pressure. Subsurface hydrocarbon against CO2 water for all projects calculated using specific reservoir temperatures, pressure, salinity, and condition. As we notice that gas water interfacial tension generally greater than oil water IFT for both surface and subsurface condition, with CO2 having intermediate values. Gas water threshold pressure they call is the greater than oil water displacement pressure for the same rock. Carbon dioxide and water threshold pressure usually falls between the hydrocarbon gas and hydrocarbon liquid, as the CO2 water contact angle can range between 0 to 130 degrees depending on the pressure, temperature, and substrate mineralogy. So, the interfacial tension refer to the force between mercury and air, while the contact angle represent the angle formed between mercury and solid surface. In the laboratory condition, the IFT air and approximately, as mentioned earlier, is 480, and the contact angle solid is around 140. This value used to calculate subsurface capillary pressure for hydrocarbon, and the methodologies used in the reference that I use is mentioned to determine the cell capacity and characteristic of the regional, local, intraformational shell involve several techniques, and this include the MICP, SAM, scanning electron microscopy with the energy dispersive X-ray analyzer. Additionally, the thin section, petrography, grain size, pore size distribution also used in the lab and in this experiment. This technique provide valuable insight to the properties and behavior of the cell in different areas. As we can see a bit detailed, zoom out, zooming the figures number 4, I believe. The description of the scanning electron microscopy example of the shale rock where the clay platelets are observed surrounding cell-sized quartz grain. The arrangement of the clay platelets is perpendicular of the bedding rock. This technique used to examine the microstructure of materials at high magnification, providing detailed information about the composition and morphology of the sample. The image, I think, was obtained using the instrument they call it Philips XL30, integrated energy dispersive X-ray analyzer. And from the image, a detailed view of the microstructure and elemental constituent of the sample being analyzed, and also the magnification used in this image allow a clear visualization of features at scale smaller than, I believe, 200 nanometers, which is useful for studying cell for calculated pore throat size down to 3 nanometers. Again, and also the next figures. EDS spectrum obtained from the analysis indicates the presence of silica and kaolinite as a major component, along with the minor amount of calcite and muscovite. a trace amount of pyrite is also detected. The platinum coating used during the analysis contributes to the presence of peak corresponding to gold, carbon, and platinum in the spectrum, with platinum being primarily used as the carbon source for the sample itself rather than the coating. And this identification based on the work introduced Weston in 1984. The image was obtained through SAM with energy dispersive EDX. The techniques allow for the elemental analysis of sample, identifying the unique X-ray emitted from different elements based on their atomic structure, and also identify principal element present in analyzed samples such as carbon, oxygen, and sodium, magnesium, series of aluminum, silicon, sulfur, chlorine, etc. Now we are continue with the next figures. Is a plot of if we zoom a little bit higher, this plot obtain XRD analysis of powder samples showing crystallographic peaks corresponding to different mineral present in the sample. The identified minerals include kaolinite, quartz, along with elite, smectite, and small amount of the calcite and feldspar. The x-axis of the plot represent the angle of diffraction measured in degree to theta. So the next figures show a portion of 400 meters, is around 13-12 foot section of shale volume log. The log represent the distribution of the shale volume about the depth of the sample. A mud ridge interval highlighted in the log, and the curve is generated using Fizeau algorithm using the geolog application package. Additional curves such as gamma ray, caliper display on the left side, and various unit measurements such as bit size, another standard of the log composite. The next table in the bottom provide a possible interpretation of mineralogy based on a combination of the elements highlighted in energy dispersive X-ray spectroscopy spectrum. As an example, the presence of silica alone indicate a silicon, while the combination of silicon with aluminum and minor amount of sodium, magnesium, potassium, maybe calcium and iron, it suggests the presence of the clay mineral like kaolinite, smectite, elite, or montmorillonite. The table further outline interpretation for other element and their combinations such as calcite, dolomite, pyrite, kalium feldspar, another plagioclase, anastate, rutiles, series of heavy minerals, carbonaceous materials, and also chloride berthierins. I think that's all our today's short talk on the MICP approach, methodologies, and the experimental and all the equipment attributed in context of the fossil analysis, especially from the petrophysical perspective. Thanks for the listenings, and I hope everybody enjoyed. Maybe next we will see another perspective of the MICP from different source. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.